Good evening, everybody. My name is Patricia Hayes, and I'm the NRF Saatchi Chair in Visual History and Theory with the CHR. I'm also involved in the new Archival Visions Programme, which is what this evening is about. So it's my privilege to welcome you all to the official opening of Facts and Fabulations, curated by Marcus Martins. A warm welcome to you all, and I especially want to honor a distinguished visitor, the Chancellor of the University of Namibia, Professor Peter Kachavivi. Thank you. Right, Facts and Fabulations. Trust Marcos to take us from one fabulous extreme to another. Not in opposition, not a binary, not a dichotomy, but in a relation to each other. This exhibition is especially important in the current moment of heightened war and of asymmetrical wars in many cases in this world and in this planet we share. And the days when you just need visual literacy are long gone. We need virtual, immersive, spatial, acousmatical, and other literacies in order to sift what lands in our media and our social media as we work towards a greater truth, as Marcos would say. This exhibition, drawn from the UWC Robben Island Museum, Mayibuye Archives, works to perforate the self-evidence of that world. I just want to give some little background and some thanks. So this exhibition is an outcome of the new Archival Visions Programme, which is an archival research and curatorial activation program with a healthy number of fellows who belong to it. Marcos is a Digital Curatorial Fellow since 2025, and other Digital Curatorial Fellows with us are Sam Longford, and we are now joined by Peravi Kachavivi, who has just come fresh from his PhD graduation ceremony this morning. Our postdoc is Meghna Singh, and we have 4 current PhD fellows whose names are Arnaldo Kalish, Sarah Summers, Yazin Khamaldin, and Yanati Mvimbi. Now I'm mentioning their names because we are not always clearly visible in the larger constellation of the Centre for Humanities Research, which is in this space. And the CHR is incubating the larger archive project that started with a Mellon grant and led to a white paper on revitalizing UWC archives. We thank the CHR and the director for giving the larger project such a wonderful home for all these years. There are other student fellows who you will meet in the course of Marcus's talk. Just to mention our archival staff, our chief archivist is Geraldine Frieslaw. Archival assistants include Yanati Mvimbi and Rui Asabuji, who is taking photographs. And we have benefited from the program direction of Valmont Lane. Now, in our original call for fellowship applications, it focused on the Mayibuye collections, which are housed at UWC, often described as a liberation archive. And we owe our colleagues at Mayibuye Collections a huge thank you for their collaborative support for this exhibition project. And it only remains for me to thank our funders behind this amazing exhibition. let me take a deep breath. The Sibusiso Bengu Development Grant of the DHET, the Department of Higher Education and Training, who have sponsored the new Archival Visions Programme. And this program will be winding up at the end of this year. Additional funding for the exhibition also came from the National Research Foundation, Saatchi Chair in Visual History and Theory. And let me hand over straight away to Marcos.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for these non-bureaucratic words, actually full of insights and deep content. So that is a nice way of beginning. So I'm of course, very happy to be here today. This is the culmination day of a project that took 1 year since last March when I started. And of course, over this whole time, a lot of people has helped me to come to this place and to come together with you. And I take these acknowledgements very, very seriously. So I made a long list which can be read in the first text pasted on the wall, on the first wall of the exhibition. So I will, of course, excuse myself of reading all of them again, because you can read them there. But there are a few people that I cannot not mention because they were really incredible, important to the project and have very special affective and emotional meaning for me. Patricia Hayes, Valmont Lane, Geraldine Friedler from the new Archival Vision. I must thank, of course, Moritz van Beverdonker, the director of the Center for Humanities Research, whose support has made possible this exhibition and also has brought it to light. Just a private joke. And I also to deeply, deeply thank everyone at the Mayibuye Archive, but especially Mariki Victor, the director when I started working there, and Babalo Solandre, who was like just fantastic. She's here today. And I've just made deep thinking. And of course, you know how thankful I am to have taken you as friends also, right? And then finally, I must never not mention Lamise Lalkin, who went through the possible, went through the possible and the impossible to make things run as smoothly as they could. And I really can tell, I cannot even tell what she did for this project and how helpful and friendly she was as a colleague in building this up. So I really am very, very grateful to Lamise. So now about the exhibition. So this exhibition is called Facts and Fabulations. And I'll just go out of my script a little bit because I remember that this name, Facts and Fabulations, just came to me when I was thinking of applying for this grant. It just came to me, Facts and Fabulations like Pride and Prejudice, Violence and Passions, all these things. Just came the sound to me first. So, you know, from these words, because I'm myself very much unquiet and obsessive with the question of truth. And for a long time, doing my own research as an academic. So this just came to me, but then I felt I needed to fill in these words with conceptual energy. So I developed, for now, temporarily, 2 explanations to what is it that I consider facts and what is it that I consider fabulations, that led me to propose this kind of experience that hopefully you're going to be able to enjoy tonight. So facts for me, for now, are not ossified instances or items living somewhere that we can just go there and find them, and then there's that effect, and they are not immutable. So they change all the time, and they are actually, in this exhibition, taken as a movement towards facts. So for me, the movement that each person, each subjectivity, each individual can make towards facts is something from our everyday life, not something I'm inventing. It's just something that I thought it would be useful to think when we speak the word facts, to speak together with the word movement, right? And facts to me in this project always begins with fabulations. And I do think that we, in our ordinary lives, begin imagining things even before being conscious of our own biases and our repertoire. Even before anything, any fact-checking, we are already embedded in this world of imagining what that is that brings our repertoire. So this is also my definition for fabulations, not just fun imaginations on something, but actually marking who we are, where we come from, our repertoire. So we become aware of that the minute we pay attention on how we fabulate. So fabulation is not just an exercise, and it's not mistakes. They are taking as a human, everyday mental activity and emotional charge it. So in order for me to better explain these concepts, which did not pre-exist the project, I didn't come out with that before. This came out actually in the end. Or if it's not the end, I still can elaborate even further together with everybody here who feel moved by these provocations. So in order to do that, I'd like to just recapitulate a little bit the process that led me to come to these two temporary definitions of facts and fabulations. So it started with me, myself, at Mayibuye photographic collection, browsing hundreds of photographs with very little knowledge of those photographs. I am, for those who haven't noticed, it's so obvious, but I'm Brazilian. And so I was a Brazilian there with those photographs and, being thrown in the wonderful place of images of a very interesting and to me then an inaccessible history of South Africa, me being very ignorant of all that. So I started browsing these photographs, very emotionally driven, and I selected a few that were specifically mysterious to me. And I imagined that could be mysterious later for the second phase of the project, which I'm going to speak in a while. So these photographs that really captured my attention for one reason or another took me to the second floor of Mayibuye. The photographic collection is on the first floor, and the historical papers collection is on the second floor. I think it's second, maybe third, but it's upstairs. So I just went up. And then I went again to boxes and boxes of files and newspaper clips, graphic material, other photographs, documents that I photographed like compulsively to try to find out the context for those photographs. Many times I was amused, but most of the times I was shocked. And I was deeply moved by the history of South Africa as I was finding more and more about those photographs that so naively I just thought, oh, they are interesting photographs. So I became more and more embedded with the intensity, the heaviness, the suffering that those images were related to. And so this I carried within my research. So this was my first moment. That's when I realized that the fabulations begin with unconscious drive to try to imagine. So I didn't even know that I was doing fabulations before. I was just seeing photographs. So, but I came back and I thought that. So the second phase were then the workshops, which was my encounter with 11 UWC students, undergraduate students, and master's students. So I did these 4 sessions of one whole day workshops. And in these workshops, there were different pictures for different groups, right? So I would present these images that had stricken me and that had moved me to find more about them to the student and asked, please, what do you think this is? With no prior knowledge, with no explanation. So I was repeating with them what had happened to me. And they then fabulated on these images and they recorded these conversations. An editing of these conversations you'll be able to listen there at the gallery in one of the QR codes. And many of them are here tonight, and I'm going to have the pleasure to invite them in a while. So the second experience was very interesting because they freely fabulated on the images, and of course they were bringing their own repertoire, as I said, their own where they're coming from. But then I presented them after these fabulations with all the material that I had gathered related to those images. And I said, you have the time, please have the time to browse, to look for that, and then maybe to select a few of them, a few of these items that you find especially interesting. So then we reconvened and talked more about that. And during this second round of conversations, they would then bridge their own lives with those events that were historical, mostly from the 1970s to 1990s, but some of them were even before. But they would make connections with their present day life. So those events were then reverberating things that they know in their everyday life. So this also clicked to me that then this is a way of bringing the archive for today, for the here and now. So the archives are usually taken as places that you go specifically looking for a theme, or you are like a scholar, and you are alone with that material. So that provided a collective experience of exchanging a mix between fabulations and quote-unquote facts, because the material are not the facts. The materials are just the official narratives. But that bridge, that contamination between fabulations, their private lives, the South African happenings of contemporary history became all one thing. However, it was clear for me that fact and fabulations remained distinct. So it was interesting how I could lose the fear that, to fabulate was something not very nice to do or disrespectful, because I really think that the ability of bridging our everyday experience with history is an interesting exercise to do with the archive. So this was the second moment. The third moment is now with you, the visitors. You are the first ones that are going to experiment what's being proposed there. And, sorry. I cannot skip one page. All right. So I just explain a little bit that this is a key moment, another key moment. And this is a moment when, again, seeing an image with no prior information, and I believe that many of you will know some of these images, but many of you might know but not know fully or not quite remember. So the experience is still valid even if you know what the images are, because no other information is given to you at the exhibition other than 2 QR codes. On one QR code on your right, you can scan with your phones. I'll talk a bit about that in a while. And you can listen to the fabulations of the students. The other QR code will download augmented reality installations. There is a pair of QR codes for each of the images. There are 7 images, right? So these augmented reality installations, they will download the same archival material that I presented to the students and that I found at the historical papers. Of course, this is highly edited to fit, a palatable and viewable situation in an exhibition. So this is the third moment. And this, right now, for a while now, but it came to me, the importance for me to share with people what is it exactly that this exhibition is all about? Because there are 7 images and each of them has a theme. They are related, each of them, with a historical event. But my theme on this exhibition is neither of those individual historical events. So they are, although you will see there's a lot of material, lots of material, but they are not selected by a specialist in South Africa history. Quite the contrary, they are selected by somebody who is encountering, who is moving towards facts. So this is actually my theme. My theme is the movement towards facts, the movement towards truth, and not truth itself, not facts itself. So coming to truth, of course, a very simple question. Everybody knows that today we're thinking about that. But I feel I would like to share with you some thoughts that are not, of course, diagnostics of our time, but there are some things that came to my mind while I was doing this process, and I felt it would be appropriate to share with you, not as something that I'm proposing conceptually, but actually things that I thought that helped me build the experience that I have for you. So first of all, I listen post-truth era. And I take that with a rock of salt, not a grain, a rock of salt, because to me, it is just not acceptable to start using this word, because I do think that all the fascisms and authoritarian regimes in the world are making lots of use of the naturalization of the post-truth understanding of our era. So I think we have actually to resist this, and I think I say to myself two things. First, I think as long as there are people lying, there's truth. So I don't think anybody's stopping lying so soon. So truth is still here, right? The other thing I say to myself is, I do believe there is a wish for truth. I'm not talking about something metaphysical or innate. It's not that. I'm thinking more about maybe the Nietzschean understanding of truth and falsehood, which is truth is important for collective living. We cannot live without wanting to share truth amongst ourselves. So this is another thing that I tell myself, not to, in order to resist the post-truth diagnosis of our era. Another thing that I think it's important is that this exhibition then addresses truth, but it addresses in a certain way. So I believe that truth and speed they are indissociable today, because the instantaneity with which we consume information and browsing our phones is what we think is truth. It's just like we don't even question, or we think it's not true. But the thing is, it's very fast to decide this is true, this is not true, this one is to be canceled, this one is not to be canceled, and this can be like instantaneous. So the instantaneity of truth is what this exhibition is trying to target. But it's not trying to target theoretically into a debate. It's trying to target it experimentally. So this, in a way, is the exhibition of a designer. That's what I am. So this is what I'm proposing, that there's an experiment of delaying the fast consumption of truth, images, and other kinds of information. So what is proposed here is that people will have to take more time, to listen to the Fabulations, to see the newspapers. There's a lot of material, so there is time involved in this. People can feel impatient, people can feel bored, probably they will, and I hope that I am able to say to you that it is important to feel how is it that we start feeling impatient and become aware of our impatience as a symptom of our addictedness to the instantaneity of truth. So this is also part of the experience, right? Okay, so I think I would have more to say, but I think I'm speaking too much. So just at the end of this, 3 moments, I then came to this idea that it's not properly a movement toward facts that I'm proposing here, but actually an oscillation between two ideal poles. Fabulations on one hand, ideally pure, which they are not, and facts on the other, also ideally pure. So we are sort of moving in between, and that's also what I wanted to highlight with the experience that I am proposing here. And then I got 2 technical problems just to finalize this talk, and they were really technical problems. And I thought, I must find a way to disguise that these are problems and try to sell them as intentional. And I was then trying to make myself think, how can I do that? So I found myself, oh, now I'm lying. And I said, this is horrible, because I'm just concealing from people and trying to bend technical things into something positive. And then a second me said, oh, but that's great, because then that's your fabulation over the technical problems that has also value, and not just, stay there stuck in, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. So the first one is sound. People who experimented in the last weeks that we were training with these experiments, the first thing they said was, don't you have headphones? And they said, we didn't have money. So this is the factual explanation, right? But there is a fabulatory explanation, which is actually, so this made me think, okay, we don't have headphones. So what is it that the same fascist machine that makes us speed up the consumption of information, why is it that we also now have to listen to things like individually? What happened to the radio experience. Nobody remembers what is it to, I mean, I don't even remember because I was not alive then, hopefully. And but there is this thing. People used to gather around the radio. And this is a beautiful thing because then when you listen together, you laugh together. And then you can not pay attention to the fabulations and then just start fabulating amongst yourselves. And this happened in our tests. We remember that. So I thought, oh, this is very interesting things, that collective listening, right? So this I could even say this is deliberate because I wanted collective listening, but I already told you I'm lying. The second thing is the fabulations that you're going to listen from the students really require attentive listening. It's very easy to listen to somebody speaking and immediately have a reaction. So I think that the movement of making it near the phone to your ear symbolizes the movement of care to what you've been listening. So there's like, I don't know, a moment of trying to really physically think about what is it that this person is saying? Because, you know, many of these fabulations are just regular conversations. And it's, I don't know, initially just think, so they're not saying anything important. But I can see that there's a lot of very important things being said there, but it requires this. So there you go, my explanation. Why not the headphones? So the other one is you cannot zoom. You cannot zoom your phone. You cannot pan. You cannot touch your screen. So it's like almost saying you have to chop out your hand because we are so used to do this, right? So this is another thing that this exhibition targets, not as a theoretical debate, but as an experience that goes against the movement of bodies related to the phone, related to the screen, which actually locks the fingers with the eye. So there is a lock here, and all the rest of the body remains still. So the movement towards, so what you're going to have to do is, instead of doing this, you have to go with the phone. So if there's something written there floating in the space, you have to come here and read, right? So this goes against of bringing things near, a passion that Walter Benjamin has talked about long ago, a passion of bringing things close, miniaturize, see it close. So now what I'm proposing to you is that this movement across the space is also something, that there's something there that can bring some kind of different quality to the experience of consuming information, right? So that said, it's time now for coming back to the here and now. And so I have then to start talking about the person who, after the last workshop, came to me demonstrating huge interest in participating in this project, asking for nothing, and I super welcomed him. He helped me in numerous tasks, including going through the transcripts of all the students' fabulations and conversations and pointing out what were the points that he thought would be important, and also go through all the newspapers and marking, this is interesting, this is interesting, this is interesting. So I took into great consideration that kind of curatorship. So this is the assistant curator, Katlego Tisetso Noana.
Hi. As introduced, I'm Katlego Nkwana. I was one of the students in Marcus's workshops, and I tried my best to pester him, but he was more receptive because I told myself if he says no, then I'm going to send another email over and over again until he says yes. But he was very receptive. And maybe a little backstory like Marvel, but so throughout the construction of this exhibition, I've been thinking about the anxieties of historians that came before me, particularly from the history workshop in WITS in the 1970s. Historians who are concerned about historiographies post-democracy, and they were worried about how so much of our history was being engineered through a nationalist engine, and it was eroding the critical nature of history and how it's presented. And it is unfortunate that a lot of these historians, with valid reasons, withdrew from the commercial production of South African histories, um, in fear of losing the critical edge of history, as they had argued. And it is, I guess, the most unfortunate that I am the product of a nationalist history that was engraved into the schooling curriculum. Um, and I remember in an article I read by Christopher Saunders and Cynthia Cross, Peter Lukoti in the article, um, he made an emphasis that the youth is not really interested in history, and he blamed it on the TRC. And there is some truth to that, because throughout high school and primary school, I watched a lot of my peers grow fatigued of the histories that we were taught in school, um, what we called Mandela effect ANC history. It was this nationalist history that was constructed in a neat way. And with this fatigue, at some point, I diverted from history and went into biology, and I thought I was going to be a physicist or a chemical scientist. But then I realized that the questions that I was asking were not going to be answered by simple methodology like that. And I came to realize that I am a social scientist at heart. Um, and with that, I did the most bravest thing and defied against my parents and switched streams, stopped doing science, and went into history. Got enrolled into UWC. And I will always remember the feeling I had in the History 1 lecture with Bianca and I don't think they're here, but it was so packed. Everyone was so eager to learn. And throughout this construction of the exhibition, I was thinking about how these anxieties that historians had, that the youth was losing interest in history and its production, and they were also worried about their own careers. I found myself in the very same dilemma, that what am I gonna work as a history triple major? And I think this exhibition came at a perfect time. My existential crisis of what I'm gonna do after graduating. And I remember he came into the lecture hall presenting the idea, and the first thing that popped out was AI. And I just rolled my eyes far back because I have a huge disdain for that. But then I discovered that in one of the in the workshops, he revealed that one thing that I said in my response to the Google form was that AI is a form of epistemic violence, and it stuck with him. So I guess my hatred for AI brought me here. Um, and technology. And I had the privilege to learn from my incredible lecturers throughout undergrad, and they planted the seed that is sprouting today. I will always be grateful for the third year archival history module. It opened my horizons because I had a huge dissatisfaction with what history was and how it was presented. Um, and they really broadened my horizons by exposing me to the archive and scholars that are even here. I was cramming your research paper for my exam, and it's a surreal moment that you're here. Um, and I think with those anxieties that historians had today are now in the echo chambers of today's society. I think, as Marcus said, that there's this huge need, this dopamine need of consuming fast-paced information is eroding what we might say is true, and propaganda is easily um, pushed through like these modes due to our lack of questioning and the swift need for information. Um, and one of the images in the virtual reality, which is my favorite, should I say the name? Is it a spoiler? The Kailicha jig. I was thinking about how these histories that historians during the history workshop were worried that they're going to get eroded and undercut by this national liberation identity movement in our histories, um, are now important today because given that the climate, the political climate, particularly in Cape Town, recently with the DA proposing a wall built around Khayelitsha, I think exhibitions like this are important because it's a huge reminder that Khayelitsha is what it is today because of these systems that were in place, and simply a wall does not um, fix the problem. But going into the archive and going to what is presented today through this augmented reality, you will see somewhat a tip of the iceberg of Khayelitsha history and why it is important to have exhibitions like this. Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of the youth that is fatigued with national history does not really know the history of Khayelitsha. Even residents themselves, people who live in Khayelitsha, don't really particularly know the history of where they come from. And it brings me to my point of exclusion and elitism in academia, and how the history workshop scholars had open days, but also undervalued opening the exhibition to the public, and how creating this popular form of history was unacademic, as they put it. And I'm very proud of the CHR for opening up the doors to the public, because I do think that it is important that people know these small social histories, these um, light bulbs in this huge billboard of national liberation, that there is a history of people that existed and that it needs to be echoed, and particularly at these times to be remembered. And I was also thinking about how AI, if we could ever find a not critical but an ethical way to use AI, and we have one of the images, I will not say which, that's the surprise. Um, and I had some anxieties about putting that image in because it is the extraction of someone's intellectual property without any compensation. So I was thinking about how can we use artificial intelligence as a form of critical fabulation for where, for instance, there isn't an image or a historical record of what happened in a particular day, but people's memory of the day is still there, but there isn't any visual representation. I was thinking about how can AI counter that? Can that help by critically fabulating what took part in that time period? Um, but I do still think that it's a dangerous tool, and should be used with caution. And I am very grateful for Marcus for letting me be part of this. I learned so much. I think I'm his prodigy. um, I learned so much about softwares and design. Um, every single detail of the exhibition was well thought out. He was thinking about the user. He was thinking about how the design, if you tilt an image like this, how does it affect? So every single intricate detail had thousands of thoughts and overthinking. And I had to trust this process because there are times I was like, maybe that image should not go there, but eventually it did play out, and I'm glad that he also gave me the opportunity to um, express my disdain for something if I did not agree with it, and he did not undermine my opinion, but also valued it, and I'm grateful for that. Um, yeah, I think that's the end of my speech, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So happy to listen to that. So now, very quickly, because we need now to go to the exhibition. So the exhibition has this technological side, which is very important. It works mostly 100% well if you have an iPhone. It doesn't work so well if you have an Android, but it does work some. This is why we have some iPads and fantastic instructors trained to provide, help for those who cannot, use their own equipment, right? So this is like a technological limit that actually I couldn't even think of anything to explain it. So this is how it is, right? This is how this platform works. But I want to call just quickly my friends here, please, all of you. I must introduce you so you can identify them. Can you please come up? Yes. So these are the people whom I'm like super, super grateful, who volunteer for not volunteered so completely because there was some compensation, but and there was some recruitment, but they just took the challenge, the terrible challenge of dealing with the public and the technology. You'll see everything's going to go wrong and they have to deal with that. So Lutho, Flumelo, Keletso, Leila, Sinalo, Katlejo also is one like them, and Hailili, and Marcus. So we are here to help you, right, with the exhibition. So now I think we can leave. Simone can just turn off. Simone is going to be documenting the gallery activity, whatever that is. And I would just recommend that people take some more wine, those who can, because the exhibition is optimally, enjoyable if there's like no more than 20 people in the room.
Okay, this one. Then here's pictures and the newspapers and everything. Okay, please stand behind the yellow line.
I'm going to hear it.
Okay.
So do you Okay, I can instruct.
Please wait a minute to take some seconds. Say allow.
Oh, but you know how you do it?
It's matched.
Okay, it didn't match yet. It's gonna. Okay, we need to move it around on the floor. Yeah. Such an environment. Now it's blue. You see, it is matching with the cards. You can. No.
Oh, sorry.
So it's very. You can click the blue tab. Yes, there you go. And then you can read through. You must not slide it or something. Just go through it. When you want to look a bit closer, you can go forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great.
So basically, I'm holding my phone, and then you see that's the image. But through the phone, you can see all these newspaper clippings.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. So it's augmented reality. You can move around.
I wanted to look at this because what is the background? What is his background?
You'll get every information
Everything.
here, yes.
Okay.
So hold on to this. You're going to be using this.
Okay.
So firstly, you're going to go into camera. You're going to access the camera. It's right there.
Okay. Yeah.
Or we can do the easy way. Press the link.
Okay.
View a clip. Press the side. Takes time. So you have to be patient.
Here we go. And that's out. So now you just got the entire time.
So you're going to move your cross, like the grey cross, across the floor.
Oh, right. there.
Yes.
Right.
When it turns blue, you have to line it to the yellow cross and then tap anywhere on the screen. You can tap the screen.
Right there.
Anyway. Yes. You're gonna raise it up, move it around the whole room. So you have to raise it up. Yes. And then
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
moving a whole across the
Okay,
room. You're
okay,
gonna get
okay.
And please don't spin. You can walk towards the information. It's gonna be here.
You can, yes.
Yes. When you, if you want to sit there, you move towards the picture. Don't spin.
This one is the vision. Well, then, so if you want to see the images, you need to pause. You can use it. You can move it. But that's
Okay. Ah,
So you can't use your phone to enlarge it. Cool, ne?
Yes, conceptualized.
Rent Anger in Sharpeville. Lamise, have you seen it?
Yes.
Very cool.
Kids are disappearing. You can press play to listen to the audio.
So that's exactly my political natural. These photos. Do you want to look at the
interesting.
Image here. I'm okay with the sound, but I struggle with the
Has two images, not only one. So if you move, you will see. This is Candice Jensen, who did the research. She talks about how was the classification in IDEF, which was the organization that gave birth to the Mayibuye Archive. So the photographer, well, you can read. So this talks about the process. Ivan Tom is going to start right now, right away. The next thing.
Wow.
Anyway.
This is amazing. Wow, so you got, oh, there's addition. Yeah.
maybe go close. I don't know what you get closer.
Like that. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Ivan Thomas he was also a doctor.
He was a
I remember a doctor, he was a medical. Remember he came to the commission, the Truth Commission, to testify, and he was weeping because he was because he was gay, and they wanted to humiliate him because of his gayness, and then he testified that he was weeping at the TRC. I remember so clearly. And then he passed away shortly after that.
Really?
Well, yeah, a couple of years after the TRC. Wow. I remember this so well.
Okay, what's next? Oh, this is
And
a,
he
this
ran,
is a
he
description
ran
of it.
he ran a clinic. He started a clinic. Instead of going to the army, he started a clinic in Guguletu. I think it was in Guguletu. Was it in Guguletu?
Not
You are that generation, yeah. But I mean, for us, it's really so interesting that the stories that we know. Yeah. We had a special hearing for where he spoke at the special hearing on his existing constitution. It was very moving. So yeah.
So we're getting Kuna's version.
Absolutely.
This is what he was talking about, engaging.
Right.
Wow.
What does it say? It's telling the story.
So he
of
says he was tried for refusing and defended by Eden Cameron, a human rights advocate, but now a judge.
what is this? Oh yeah,
Why I refuse to serve, yeah. Oh, so how do I get back to that? So now it's...
Oh wait, where did it go?
So where did it go? There,
there
it
it
is. So I have to turn it like this. Come, Pep.
Come. Okay.
No, then it ran. It disappeared.
Yeah, what is it?
I want that why I refuse. This one.
Yeah, that one.
This one. This testimony, because it sounds like a testimony. It's very familiar.
No, don't touch.
Oh, don't touch.
Remember you can't touch it.
There's so much of it. Yeah. Well, how do we get it? Okay, you have to go closer to it.
You see,
And then
yeah, I actually think that his clinic was in Crossroads, because this is what they call it,
Angel of Crossroads.
Yeah.
People who know something about the image come here and write. So this is a way of continue this, mechanics of learning and expanding the archive. So if you know something,
Yeah, but I would come back in 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm sure you're going to go home again.
That's the thing. It's also interesting that having to go out because you think you can just shift. You need out? You have to exit and then go back.
This is what he said.
Yeah.
Patience, for some frustration.
Happy with the results? Yeah. Success?
Touch your screen, please don't zoom. When you want to see clearly,
Don't do anything.
to the front. When you want to see everything, you move to the back. Don't touch your screen. Okay with the screen, right? Yep. Move to your right. And when you've seen everything, tell me if there's something else I want to show you. Yeah, it is.
This is so cool.
It is.
Did you help develop this?
No. Marcus developed it actually. Yes. He's a genius.
It's really amazing.